before evening. The din of the crowd was absolutely indescribable. There were hundreds of people talking, shouting, bellowing, and arguing, foaming at the mouth as they claimed the right to push their way through to the entrance ahead of everyone else. A fight sprang up over a disputed place in the queue beside a cart loaded with turnips. The Renang guard tried to restore order, but they only made things worse and only served to focus the crowd's hostile attention on the hapless guardsmen. A serious scrimmage was brewing, and the air had a distinct smell of burnt garroch pepper. The small group of soldiers regretted ever getting involved in the brawl. "What's all this nonsense?" the moody-looking character who answered to the name of Loudmouth asked irritably. "I can't remember seeing a jam like this at the northern gates. Everybody always piles in through the gates of triumph." "Then what are we doing stuck here?" Khalas hissed angrily, holding one hand against his cheek. What could be worse than a sullen, cantankerous gnome who's angry with the whole wide world? Only a sullen, cantankerous gnome who's angry with the whole wide world and also happens to have a toothache. Khalas's tooth had started aching the evening before, and it was causing him dire agony. But the insufferable gnome had dug his heels in and refused to let anyone pull out the lousy tooth, saying he wanted to have it done by a respectable barber and not horse doctors, in which category he included Gelair and Clickley, who had offered their services as healers. "These gates are closer to the highway," Loudmouth exclaimed. "They may be closer," Khalas said gloomily, plucking at the tangles in his beard. "But did it never enter your thick head that I'm about to expire from pain here?" "Stop whining," Gelair muttered. "Hold on for a bit longer." The gnome gave the broad-shouldered dwarf a dark look, with the clear intention of thumping him on the nose, but instead he muttered, "Why is it taking so long?" He watched as the guard allowed a cart loaded high with cages of chickens in through the gates.
"They have to inspect everyone, tax them, find out what they've come for,"
Clickley squeaked.
"What incredible zeal from the municipal guard! Why now?"
"Who can say?"
the little green goblin said with a shrug.
"Perhaps we could try the other gates, my Lord Alistan?"
Honeycomb asked hesitantly, with a sideways glance at the leader of our party. The knight pondered the suggestion for a few seconds and then shook his head.
"They're more than an hour away."
Khalas's face turned crimson, and I was suddenly afraid that he was about to have a stroke.
"An hour?"
he snarled.
"I can't hold out that long."
And the gnome started riding determinedly toward the gates.
"Where's he going?"
Loudmouth asked, but Alistan only laughed and set his own horse moving after Khalas. There was nothing else we could do but stay with them. At first the people gaped at us in fascination, but then, realizing that we were jumping the queue, they started murmuring.
"They'll kill us. I swear by the Gras, they'll kill us,"
Marmot muttered. But the gnome drove on heedlessly through the indignant crowd, yelling like an old-time cobbler for them to make way.
"Halt, gnome! Halt!"
cried a guardsman with a halberd.
"Where do you think you're going? Don't you see the queue?"
The gnome opened his mouth to let the soldier know what he thought about him and his family back to the 7th generation, but in some miraculous fashion, Miralissa was suddenly there beside him, and she edged him out of the way.
"Good morning, Honorable Sir. Why the delay?"
the ashen-haired Elphis asked with a smile. The guardsman immediately lowered his voice and even tried to straighten his uniform tunic. Like all the rest of us, he knew, because his mother had told him when he was a little baby, that you always had to be polite to elves. Light or dark, it makes no difference. If, that is, you don't want to end up with a dagger under your ribs when some denizen of the forest